Everybody wants a garden that is thoughtful, sustainable, and usable. And we have a couple of guests right now who are going to help us help you create that kind of space on your own turf. I'm joined by Mandy Goldman and Jade Florence from Yarrow Designs here in Austin. First off, welcome to the show. It's great to have you.
Thank you. Pleasure.
Yeah, tell me a little bit more about your work and the kinds of spaces you try to create for your clients.
We use, like you said, thoughtful design. So our focus is upfront on the design end so that we can take into account all the different needs that a client expresses they want out of their garden space, as well as thinking of conservation efforts, creating sustainable spaces that will be long lasting, hopefully low maintenance.
Mm-hmm.
Then we try to provide installation that'll be enjoyable and get the client outdoors to really appreciate being out in the Texas heat. So,
and you do this for spaces on a very small scale and up to and larger scales as well. And it's a real trick to be able to do all of that in a small space. We'll talk more about that in a moment. But I want to hear from Jade about the conservation side, because that's your responsibility, or you're part of this is your conservation related work. Tell me a little bit more about what that means.
Well, for the conservation aspect of it, it kind of plays into the design element.
Mm-hmm.
So we're trying to use a lot of a wide variety of bloom periods. So maybe something blooms in summer, something blooms in fall. We want to have something blooming in every season. We want to have a lot of different color, a lot of different biodiversity
Mm-hmm.
of native species, and we really want it to be drought tolerant. So native species to Texas, they're adapted to the amount of rainfall that they get. So it's a way of decreasing the amount of supplemental water people have to spend on their yards. Lawn grass actually takes up a ton of water. I think in the U.S. it's like 200 gallons of water per person per day.
It's crazy.
It's the number one irrigated crop. is grass.
Grass is a water hog. Everybody knows that. So I want to go back to some of the design challenges you face. Now, and I mentioned the fact that you try to do all these different things, even in small spaces. What does that really take to do that?
takes a more detailed eye, more detailed consideration. I like the challenge of small spaces. There's parameters to work within. So I really listen to a client's needs and goals. For instance, a big issue a lot of clients express with small spaces is just being some sites they want to screen, maybe being very close to a noisy street or a neighbor they might love but they don't want to see when they're in the backyard.
Right.
Sunlight, they might be in their west side yard in a tiny little space. It's their only outdoor space and they can't enjoy it because they're just being blasted by our Texas heat. I tried to design to screen certain areas with plantings and trellises and vines.
Yeah.
And as well as keeping with sustainable solutions for all those requirements. There's a lot in a small space.
Yeah, and part of the conservation thing, we're talking about water use. Water capture is something that you all seem to incorporate into a lot of your work.
Oh, definitely.
Tell me a little bit about how you can integrate, for example, cisterns, rain barrels, and other kinds of design features.
I mean, just right now we're working on a pretty big project where we're integrating French drains. We have water capturing next to a chicken coop. Yeah, so we're doing that in almost all of our designs. We're integrating some sort of drainage, so underground drainage,
Sure.
along with the rain barrel that you can use in your garden.
Right. It's so important. One of the things I'm very excited about is the use of things like just rain gardens, where you can really capture water on site and let it percolate down into the soil. It's like, I jokingly refer to it as backyard aquifers. It's like something that could really benefit. So I'd like to explore a little bit more about you've shared some amazing images of your work, and there's a lot of kind of interplay between soft and hard spaces. You use a lot of built-in furniture and hardscape. Tell me a little bit about why that balancing act. Why is that important?
Well, we are balancing humans with nature.
Right.
And our human requirements will our set of needs might be, I need some seating, I want some entertaining spaces.
Sure.
So when you're working in a small space, it's nice to bring the two together in a nice marriage of nature is right next to human interaction. So you
Right.
could build in, I call it multiple functions for one design element. So let's say you need some shading on your side yard. I would encourage a client, let's build a bench on a planter. So it's one, it's a space saving one element
Right.
with some vining plants that smell
Sure.
really nicely. And at the bottom of that, let's put in some herbs that you can use to entertain your guests with alongside the
Sure.
table. So multiple functions for one design element is
Yeah.
key, I think,
Well,
in
that-
design spaces.
And you're really thinking of different audiences
Yes.
for all of that. Now, how involved are your clients in terms of wanting to get their hands dirty with the work?
It varies.
Yeah, it definitely varies.
Sometimes, yeah. I mean, sometimes people want to phase it and want to use some volunteers or something like that, or they want to participate, or sometimes they want to do it, like have different parts of it come in over time and get more complex
Yeah.
over time. But I think it usually starts with them kind of talking about what uses they want to get out of it, and maybe they have some very particular things that they definitely want there, and then we kind of work with that, and it's kind of a partnership.
Yeah.
When you do your plant selection, is that something you work carefully with the clients, or just bring in things that are tried and true and you think are going to work in every case?
We do a little bit of both. So we'll share kind of ideas through like a Pinterest or a house board, and I'll get a sense of their color and their style. And then I will suggest, or we will work together to suggest, she brings in that conservation element, I bring in the knowledge of all the plants in the local area that'll work, that are tried and true. We have our special tried and true list, and we suggest that to the client. And they seem very interested in those plant selections and why.
Yeah.
And so we will review those pretty intensely.
When I think of conservation and design, I think I immediately just think of use native plants or something like that, which a lot of people are aware of. Are there other elements of conservation that we should be aware of just beyond plant selection and choosing low water plants?
It gets a little bit difficult because one of the biggest things is to kind of be a bit messy with your garden. And if you're messy with your garden, it'll become this very like biodiverse, wild kind of habitat.
That's true.
Some people like that, some people don't. But one of the biggest things is biodiversity, making sure that you're not just planting, one
thing.
species everywhere.
Yeah.
And making sure that you have the different species that are coming into bloom at different times, berries in the winter, and it's beautiful to
Yeah.
look at.
And so, I like your point about you use the word messy, and it doesn't have to appear messy, but for example, when you're pruning things, instead of bagging them, carrying them away, and making sure everything's tidy, kind of putting them at the back of the bed and letting them decompose. There are a lot of tricks that you can use there.
Definitely.
Yeah, having a little corner of your yard where you kind of, where it's okay to kind of toss extra leaves and sticks
Right.
and stuff.
Well, we just have a short amount of time left, but I just would really like for you to kind of talk about again your clients and who you like to work with, and who really you feel most is attracted to this kind of design style.
That's definitely a good question because we try to put out to the central Austin region a sort of style and a philosophy. And we do tend to attract the right type of client who appreciates that. If you like Google search permaculture designer, we come up pretty high on the list. So we're looking for, we like to work with people who appreciate nature or have an interest in learning more to appreciate it.
I think that describes a lot of really good folks. So we appreciate so much you coming on board the show.
Thank you.
Mandy and Jade both. Best of luck with your great design business.
Thank you so
and thanks
much.
for being on the program. Coming up next is Daphne.